Check your audio and video settings, please. Guys, please check your audio and video settings, please, everyone. Yeah, tell me. Other day I was talking about Spring JDBC. Spring JDBC is a module in Spring Framework and provides abstraction on plain JDBC and simplifies application development process or not. It simplifies the application development process. What do you say, guys? In how many ways? In how many ways we can do programming in Spring JDBC? 5 ways. But in that one, 2 ways are already outdated or not working, not recommended to use. So how many are left, guys? 3 are left. What is that? Using JDBC template. Number 2, using named parameter JDBC template. Okay, using simple JDBC insert and simple JDBC call. These are the 3 things that we are going to learn. So shall we take first one? Using JDBC template now, boss. Spring JDBC programming using JDBC template, right? Okay, now listen, guys. JDBC template is the central class in entire Spring JDBC API. Directly, indirectly, this will be used a lot, guys. And JDBC template is created based on template method design pattern. What do you mean by template method design patterns are? It says common logics we will take care, specific logic should be taken care by the programmer. This pattern says someone like superclass or API class take care of common logic and gives environment to the programmer to develop the application specific logic. What logic, guys? The application specific logic. The application specific logics. Everything is clear or not, boss? JDBC template is central class in Spring JDBC API. That means all approaches in Spring, all approaches of Spring JDBC programming uses the JDBC template class directly or indirectly. Uses the JDBC template class either directly or indirectly. Clear, my dear? Okay, total 3 approaches we are going to learn. Or you take all the 5 approaches. They are going to use what? Okay, JDBC template directly or indirectly. That's the central class in JDBC programming. Super. To create JDBC template class object, we need a data source object as the dependent object. Okay, now listen carefully. JDBC template can generate common logics, boss, but for which database software? Oracle or MySQL or PostgreSQL. Okay, for that one, connectivity to the database is required. Tell me, in advanced programming, we prefer direct JDBC connection or pooled JDBC connection? Direct JDBC connection or pooled JDBC connection? Pooled JDBC. Who represents pooled JDBC connection pool? Data source object. So if we inject JDBC data source object to JDBC template, indirectly we are giving idea to JDBC template. You need to talk with so-and-so database software and you need to generate the common logic for certain database software or not. Suppose if I inject a data source object pointing to Oracle connection pool to JDBC template class object. So indirectly the common logics will be generated by JDBC template pointing to Oracle database software or not? Pointing to Oracle database software or not? Suppose if I inject a data source object representing JDBC connection pool for MySQL to JDBC template object, the JDBC template will generate the common logics. Will generate the common logic with respect to MySQL database software or not? with respect to MySQL database software or not? I want reply. Respect to MySQL database software. Is that clear, my dear? Are you understanding my statement, guys? Come on. Yes, boss. Now listen. Yeah, now listen. Where we use this JDBC template, guys. We inject this JDBC template class object to a separate Java class called DAO class. Data Access Object class. What is DAO class? The Java class that contains purely persistence logic, that separate persistence logic from other logics, is called DAO class. Is called DAO class. The Java class that separate persistence logic from other logics to make the persistence logic as reusable logics and flexible logics to modify is called DAO class. Is called DAO class. Understanding my statement, guys? Super. Okay, now listen carefully. We inject JDBC template class object to DAO class object to write the simplified JDBC persistence logic. DAO, data access object, guys. It is one class per DB table. It is one class. If 10 tables are there in your project, 10 DAO classes we will take. If 20 tables are there in your project, 20 DAO classes we take. Contains purely persistence logic. What do you mean by persistence logic, guys? Code operations logic. What logic? Logics to perform insert, update, delete, select operations on DB table. Code operation logics, boss. What logics? Code operation logics, boss. We can use any persistence technology or framework to place these persistence logics in DAO class. To seriously, literally place these persistence logics in DAO class. Are you understanding my statement, guys? We can use any persistence technology or framework to place these persistence logics in DAO class. Okay, we can use either JDBC or Spring JDBC, Spring ORM, Spring Data JPI, this kind of persistence technologies or framework to write persistence logics in DAO class. Clear, boss? To support strategy DP, we can use DAO interface and DAO IMPL class. DAO interface contains what, guys? Declaration of methods. DAO IMPL class contains what, guys? Implementation of methods having persistence logic. Implementation of methods having persistence logic. Getting my point? DAO interface contains declaration of methods. DAO IMPL class contain implementation of persistence logic. Are a strategy design pattern. Every dependent class should have an interface and implementation class. Remember? Every interface should have an interface and implementation class. Remember that? The Java class that contains only this is about DAO class, guys. This is about DAO class. The Java class that contains only business logic or service logic is called service class. It will be taken on one per module basis. One per module basis. Super. To support strategy DP, we take service interface and service IMPL class. We take the support of service interface and service IMPL class. Getting my point there, guys? To support strategy DP, we take the support of service interface and service IMPL class. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Yeah. This is purely for service class, guys. This information is purely for service class. Okay, service class. Here I am talking about service class. Okay, guys. Spring-based layered application. Spring-based layered application. Listen, guys. Earlier, we used to write all the logics in a single class, right? But when you are developing layered applications, guys, different logics will be written in different classes, and we make them talking with each other. And we seriously make them talking with each other. Come on, my dear. Okay, now listen. Here is database software, guys. DAO class contains persistence logic. Service class contains business logic. Client application contains presentation logic. DAO class contains persistence logic. That is nothing but logic to perform code operations on database software. It purely contains logics to perform code operations on database software. When I say code operations, what is there? Insert, update, delete, and select operations plus. Insert, update, delete, and select operations. Clear, my dear? Service class contains business logic, calculation, sorting, filtering, analyzations, and etc. So basically, all core arithmetic and logical operations, guys. Presentation logic, logic preparing user interface to provide inputs and to display outputs. To provide inputs and to display outputs. Clear, my dear? To provide inputs and to display outputs. Yes, guys. Are you understanding my statement? Spring-based layered application. Here is what spring-based layered application. Everyone convinced with me, guys. Everyone understood my statement here, guys. What the clarity was. Okay, now observe very carefully. Layered application means keep different logics in different classes, make them talking with each other. But sir, what's the advantage of developing these applications in Spring Babu? Observe very carefully. Observe very carefully. Data source is required in DAO. Can I assume data source is dependent and DAO is target class? I can inject data source to DAO. DAO is dependent to service class. Can I assume DAO dependent class service is target class? I can inject DAO class object to service class, boss. That means if I give all these three classes to IOC container only loads data source DAO service classes, right? Create objects for them. Create objects for them and injects data source to DAO object. DAO class object to service class object. Yes or no, na boss? Is it not interesting, Ra Babu? Is it not interesting? I want reply from you people, my dear. Is it not interesting? Okay. Then where to create IOC containers, sir? In the client application, we can create IOC container. Here, if we call ctx.getBean service class bean ID, I will get service class object. Come on. I will get service class object injected with the DAO. That DAO injected with the data source. Are you seeing the real power of Spring now? If you develop this one using regular Java environment, if you develop this one using regular Java environment, if you develop this using regular Java environment, tell me what happens. If you develop this using regular Java environment, tell me what happens, guys. Everything we should do manually, right? We should create data source object manually to assign to DAO class object. We should create DAO class object manually to assign to service class object. We should create service class object manually to give to client application. But when it comes to Spring, what's happening, guys? Data source DAO service, we configure as a Spring Bean. Mentioning data source as dependent to DAO, DAO as dependent to service. Here DAO is playing both roles, guys. Dependent class to service, target class to data source. Possible now? Your father is son of grandfather and father for you. He is playing both roles or not? He is playing son role and father role, right? He is playing son role and father role. What do you say, guys? Everyone getting my point there, guys? Everyone understanding my statement? Everyone understanding my statement, guys? Okay, guys. Listen. If you give these classes to Spring IOC container as Spring Beans, then we can inject data source object to DAO class object. Okay, has a property. DAO class has a property. we can inject DAO class object to service class as a property. Client application creates IOC container and gets the service class object by calling ctx.getB. This service class contains DAO class object, which contains data source object. Which contains data source object. Everyone getting my point there? This service class contains DAO class object, which contains data source object. Which actually contains the data source object. Convinced or not, guys? Got the clarity or not, boss? Client application creates IOC container, calls ctx.getBean method having service class bean ID. Yes or no? Na? Okay, then gets the service class object, which is having DAO class object, that is having data source object. Yes or no, na, boss? Here data source object is dependent to DAO class. DAO class is dependent to service class. And target class to data source. Service class is target class to DAO. Are you understanding my statement, boss? I hope you thoroughly enjoyed, guys. I think, are you feeling the real power of Spring? Why people are crazy about Spring in real projects? You got it? All real-time projects are layered applications. And if you give classes of those layered applications to IOC container, everything will be taken care by IOC container. What do you say, guys? Every operation will be taken care by IOC container. Clear, my dear? Got the clarity, boss? Okay. Sir, is it not real-time example, Raghavendra? Service class, DAO class, these are not real-time. And I'm preparing background, Ra Babu. Raghavendra, please, Ra Babu. Service class is a real-time terminology. DAO is a real-time terminology. Please wait, my dear. Please. If you don't know how to learn subject, please keep quiet now. I'm preparing concept. I'm introducing the words layered application, DAO, service. Are you understanding? Data source, how they will be treated as Spring Beans. There is an order of learning, right? Okay. There's an order of learning. First concept building, then implementation. As part of implementation, we take the use cases, right? After attending my classes for these many days, Raghavendra, you didn't understand my way of teaching. Sorry. While learning ABCDs only, you will write sentences. Huh? While learning ABCDs only, you will write 10th class exams. Huh? You are talking like that. I'm introducing one by one, because I believe in. No, your intentions are completely wrong. What do you mean by real-time examples? Okay. First of all, you have to understand terminologies now, boss. Can you learn about inheritance without knowing about what is class, what is object? So first of all, you should habituate what is layered application, what is DAO class, what is service class. Right now, I'm in that business, right? Super, guys. Here data source is independent to DAO class, guys. DAO class is dependent to service class. Okay, now listen. Spring JDBC based layered application. Nothing but if Spring JDBC is used in DAO class for persistence loss. For the persistence loss. If Spring JDBC is used in DAO class for the persistence loss. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Super. Client application, regular one, guys. Service class, regular one, guys. DAO class, regular one. But this DAO class will be injected to JDBC template. This JDBC template will be injected with the data source. Come on, my dear, getting my point? DAO is injected with JDBC template and data source will be injected with JDBC template. Are you getting my point here or not? In Spring JDBC based layered application. What is extra? Normal DAO class data source directly. But if you want to enjoy abstraction on JDBC programming, we need to take care of JDBC template or not? Tell me what we do. Data source, JDBC template, DAO service. All these 4 classes we give as a Spring Beans now, boss. Mentioning their dependency. So data source is injected to JDBC template, right? Okay. JDBC template is injected to DAO. DAO is injected to service class. And client application creates IOC container and calls ctx.getBean method. Come on. And you will get service class object having DAO having JDBC template. JDBC template is having data source boss. Everyone understanding? Okay. A logical partition of the application, logical or physical partition of the application, which contain certain category logics, which contains or separates certain category logics, is called layer. Some part of industry calls these layers as tiers. These layers as tiers. Okay, persistence layer, service layer. Okay. Like this, we have layers now, boss, layers. The logical or tell me, physical partition of the project. That contains certain category logics is called JDBC template is a class now, boss. Is called layer or type. Super na, boss? Okay, guys. The process of keeping different logics in different files or classes and making them talking with each other is nothing but developing the application as a layered application. Developing the application as a layered application. Getting my point? It is like 4 BHK flat, boss. It is like 4 BHK flat. Are you understanding my statement, boss? Come on. The process of keeping different logics in different files or classes, making them talking with each other, is nothing but developing what? Application as layered application. It is like 4 BHK flat, boss. It is like 4 BHK flat. Super. Keeping all logics in single class or file is called non-layered application. It is like non-layered application, guys. It's like bachelor room, boss. Yeah, what life you prefer, guys? Bachelor room or 4 BHK flat? In 4 BHK flat, what's the advantage? Bedroom separately, kitchen separate, hall separate. Within the bedrooms, we'll be having separate drawing room, reading room, movie theater room, right? We'll be having separate rooms or not, boss? And all are interconnected again. So 4 BHK flat is like layered application. Okay. Writing multiple logics in single class is nothing but standalone application, right? Okay. Non-layered application, Babu. Non-layered application. Okay. Bachelor room, boss. Okay. Bachelor uses that only kitchen, that only bedroom, that only reading room, that only playing room, right? It's everything messed up. No clean separation between logics. If you try to modify one logic, other logic will be affected, right? So far, knowingly, unknowingly, in core Java, advanced Java classes, you develop a non-layered application. Now time has come to develop the layered applications or not? Now time has come to develop the layered applications or not? I want reply. Time has come to develop the layered application or not? Clear, my dear? Got the clarity, my dear, everyone? Super. Limitations of non-layered applications, guys. There is no clean separation. There is no clean separation between logics, guys. There is no clean separation between logics. Because all the logics are mixed up in single layer or class. Come on. It's like a bachelor room now, boss. Code looks very clumsy. Yeah, I think Raghavendra, did you ask real-time example means real life example? Don't confuse me. Real time means company level examples. Real life means understanding example. Okay. Are you expecting 4 BHK flat? 4 BHK flat bachelor room kind of examples? Then I have given here. Check it out. Okay. You want real life example on layered applications? Real life example. Be specific, boss. Real time means company level examples. Real life means understanding purpose. Okay. For example, guys, you take employee hierarchy in the company. Employer hierarchy in the company, guys. Worker, supervisor, manager, director. Okay, guys, director. Tell me, worker will be injected with supervisor. Supervisor will be injected with manager. Manager is injected with director. Okay. Client application is like boss. Angit Nagepalli, right now we are discussing that one only, na boss. Ankit, I'm really sorry to say You are not listening class properly. Ankit, limitations of non-layered applications, advantages of layered applications. We are on that business. Guys, what's happening? Are you listening class continuously or doing time pass? Look at the question asked by this. Sorry to say that what is the profits to develop layered application? Give one example. If listening, we never ask these questions, Ra Babu. Because you should realize, na boss. Guys, can you focus, boss? See, guys, limitations of non-layered applications I am talking means next I will talk advantages of layered application. Yes, na? Guys, definitely, na, we are on that business. Okay, why this kind of questions are coming means people are not focusing. Just randomly they are listening classes, randomly they are taking terminologies and exciting to know about it. Please don't do that. Focus continuously. Listen the session continuously. Be with me. Stay with me. Okay. Super, guys. Limitations of non-layered applications, Rabos. There is no clean code looks very clumsy because multiple logics are mixed up in single class R file. Multiple logics are mixed up in single class R file. What do you say, boss? The modifications done in one kind of logics does make logics may disturb other kind of logics. Yes, na boss. If you try to arrange kitchen item, you have to disturb what? Sleeping items. If you try to adjust sleeping items, you have to disturb kitchen items, right? Because all are mixed up in a single room, Ra Babu. Super. Unit testing of code is very complex. Why? There only every logic, Ra Babu. There only presentation logic, there only business logic, there only persistence logic. Unit testing becomes really difficult or not? Unit testing should be done by developer, Ra Babu. Come on. Since parallel development is not possible, come on. Since parallel development is not possible, okay, the productivity is very poor. What do you say, guys? The productivity is really poor or not? Since parallel development is not possible, can I say productivity is very poor, guys? That means it takes a lot of time to develop the application. It is not industry standard approach to develop the real projects. In real-time companies, will we prefer these logics? In real-time companies, will we prefer to use these logics, guys? In real-time, will we prefer using these logics, guys? Come on. Since parallel development is not possible, the productivity is very poor, guys. The productivity is very poor. What do you say, my dear? It is not industry standard approach to develop the real projects. Is it industry standard approach to develop the real projects, guys? Super. To overcome all these problems, take the support of layered applications. Are all the problems. Clean separation between logics, because different logics are written in different layers. Persistence logic separately, business logic separately, presentation logic separately. Are you feeling it, guys? The modification done in one layer logic does not affect other layer logic. If I modify persistence logic in DAO, does it disturb the business logic of service class? If I modify business logic of service class, does this disturb the persistence logics of DAO? Certainly not, guys. Are you understanding? The maintenance and enhancement of the code becomes easy, boss. Maintenance means fixing the bugs, guys. After releasing process, small problems will come. Yeah, they are called bugs. Fixing the bugs is called maintenance. Enhancement means adding new features, boss. Adding new features. So both are easy. Why? Because clean separation of logics is there. Clean separation between logics is possible, right? Clean separation between logics is possible. What do you say, boss? Clean separation between logics is possible. Parallel development is possible. Parallel development is possible. So productivity is good. Different layers, na? I can give different layers to different programmers. I can ask them to work parallelly. Mr. Sachin Yadav, let me wait please until I explain now, boss. Parallel development. I can give DAO class development to one programmer, service class development to another programmer. I can ask both people can work parallelly, so that productivity will be good, na, guys? Yes, na, boss? Yeah, someone is asking, what is the difference between maintenance and enhancement of the project? Maintenance of the project means solving the problems of existing project. That is bug fixing. Enhancement means adding the new features. In your project, credit card payment option is not there. Earlier not there. Now you are adding. That is solving the problem, right? That is solving the problem. That is solving the problem. That is adding new features, Rabab. Super, guys. Parallel development is possible. So productivity is good. It is industry standard approach to develop the real process. The entire industry prefers this approach. The industry has preferred this layered application without Spring. With the support of Spring and Spring Boot, life becomes more easy now, boss. Because when you configure those layers as Spring Beans, specifying the dependency among them, loading those Spring Bean classes, creating objects for those Spring Bean classes, right? Okay, injecting dependent object to target class object, maintaining those objects in the internal cache if the scope is singleton scope, will be taken care by IOC container nicely, na, boss. So that burden is reduced from the programmer or not. That burden programmer or not. Come on. Everyone understand, guys? Alexa, activate balcony central light. Okay, guys. Now listen. Now my focus is how to configure these classes as Spring Beans. How to specify injection among them. That sample code I'm going to give. Focus a lot. If you focus, you'll enjoy the coding. I hope everyone is alert. Everyone is alert, guys. Everyone can answer. Everyone can answer. What is 10 plus 13? What is 10 plus 13? I'm getting 10 plus 13 is 40. Super. 10 plus 13. 10 plus 13, 1, 3. I'm still not getting reply from all students. Very few people are responding. Only few people are listening class. 10 plus 13 I asked. 13, not 30, worst fellows. 13. Teenage 13. Still I am not getting reply from everyone. Okay. Yeah. Mr. Patan. Mr. Patan, can you focus in the classroom? I didn't ask 10 plus 30. I asked 10 plus 13. 1, 3 I asked. Muddy fellow. Get up from the bed, sit in the chair and listen the class. Then my words will be clear to listen. Okay, guys. Now listen. Listen, guys. There is a class called data source class, guys. For Hikari CP, separate class. For Apache DB, separate class. If we create object for that class, and if we inject JDBC properties, what kind of JDBC properties? Driver class name, URL, username, password kind of properties. Okay. The data source object will be created pointing to one or other JDBC connection. What should I do for that? Take the data source class, create object, and inject what? JDBC properties to it. Then data source object takes those JDBC properties, creates a bunch of connection objects, keeps them in connection pool, and the data source object start representing that connection. But what is the beauty, guys? If I give that class to, listen. If I give that class to Spring IOC container as Spring Bean, and if I can inject JDBC properties to Spring Bean, loading class, creating object will be done by IOC container. In that process, connection pool creation having connection object, data source object representing that connection pool will also take place automatically or not. Because in Spring environment, are we going to create object or container is going to create object? Container is going to create object. Are we going to assign data to object manually, or we ask container to assign? We ask container to assign. Container assigning object. Container assigning object is called IOC container or not? Container assigning object is called IOC container or not? Container assigning object is called injection process or not? Is called injection process or not? Super, guys. While creating any data source object, if we inject JDBC properties of certain database software, then it creates data source pointing to JDBC connection pool, having JDBC connection object of that database software. Data source object, here I am injecting JDBC properties first. Data source object, injecting JDBC properties of Oracle database software. Super, guys. This data source object that internally prepares JDBC connection pool for Oracle. So this is JDBC connection pool for Oracle or not? This is called JDBC connection pool for Oracle or not? I want reply. JDBC connection pool for Oracle or not? I want reply, boss. Data source object. You mean by data source object, guys? Data source object means it is the object of a class that implement data source interface. Array, I already said one statement. What is that? If you are calling any object name with interface name, it is not the object of interface. It is the object of a class that implements interface. In JDBC classes also, you heard this kind of terminology. Connection object. Is it the object of connection interface? No. It is the object of a class that implements connection interface or not. Statement object, same thing. And in core Java also, Babu, we say list object. It is not object of list interface, Babu. It is the object of a class that implements list interface, like array list object, linked list object kind of thing. Map object, right? Map object. Mr. Raj, I have explained JDBC properties. JDBC driver class name, URL, username, password. These are called JDBC properties. Right now, in front of your eyes, it is clearly there. There are not there. In red letters, it is written. If you know JDBC, can you recognize driver class name? Can you recognize URL? JDBC : Oracle : thin : right? I hope everyone studied JDBC. JDBC is prerequisite here. Database username, password, system manager, system tiger. System manager, system tiger. What do you say, guys? Saurabh. If you want to create connection pool for multiple database software, you have to create multiple data source objects, injecting with multiple database software related JDBC drivers, so that you will get multiple data source object representing multiple connections. Clear, my dear? I think this point we discussed in yesterday's class also. For multiple database software, you should create multiple connection pools. These connection pools will be represented by multiple data source objects. In one connection pool, multiple database software connection objects cannot be there. Pool means set of same items. All connection objects in connection pool represent connectivity with the same database software. Clear, my dear? If any object name is called with interface name, then that is not the object of interface. That is the object of a class that implements the interface. That is the object of a class that implements the interface. That is the object of a class that implements the interface. Enjoyed my statement, guys? Example: data source object, connection object, JDBC connection object, serializable object. Serializable is interface, na boss? What do you mean by serializable object? It is the object of a class that implements serializable interface, right? In standalone JDBC connection pool, Hikari connection pool is the best connection based on its performance. Fastly creates the connection object, fastly access the connection object. If you need it, fastly destroys the connection objects. Right now, boss? In Hikari, the data source class name is package.hikari data source. Okay, now listen carefully. Take this class, create object for this class, assign JDBC properties this class. Then that object creates JDBC connection pool for certain database software, and the data source object represents that connection pool. Now onwards, you want to do anything on the connection pool, you can do through data source object. You want to add a connection object through data source object. You want to get access to connection object through data source object. It is like ringmaster controlling the animals of the circus. Ringmaster controlling the animals of the circus. He will take care of all the operations of the animals. Right now, boss? Yeah. But in Spring environment, are you going to create objects manually? No. Are we going to assign values to objects manually? No. Who will do that work? Who will do that work? IOC container. IOC container seriously take care of this job or not? IOC container seriously take care of this job or not? Yes, boss. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to configure this Ikari data source class as a Spring Bean, and I want to inject JDBC properties to that class. Array, no, listen. Luckily, Hikari data source class is providing setter methods to perform setter injection on the class object. So when you want to do setter injection using XML configuration, what is the tag we should use, guys? XML driven setter injection, what is the tag we should use? If you reply, then I can go to next level. Property tag. Okay, tell me. Hikari data source is a predefined class or user defined class? Predefined class. Third party supplied predefined class, right? I want to configure it as a Spring Bean. I should use XML configurations, annotations. XML only. XML only I should use. In XML plus annotation driven configuration, what is the one I should use? In XML plus annotation driven configuration, what is the one I should use? XML only. Definitely I should use XML, right? For user defined annotation, for predefined XML. Okay, guys. By giving package.icarc data source class in Spring Bean configuration file as Spring Bean, we can make IOC container to load the class, to create object, to inject JDBC properties to it. In that process, JDBC connection pool will be created having JDBC connection objects. Having JDBC connection objects. Have a look on this, guys. You will be enjoying this. Try to have a look on this. Bean ID HKDS class package.hikari data source. Package.hikari data source. Clear, boss? Driver class name. This is driver class. JDBC URL. This is JDBC URL. This is username. This is system. This is password. This is tiger. This is initial size. This is 10. This is max size. This is 100. Come on, guys. Container loads this class. Come on. Container loads this class. Creates the object. Injects all these JDBC properties. Then in that process, connection pool is created and the data source object represents that connection pool now, boss. So that means your job is completely simplified or not? Your job is completely simplified or not? I want reply. Based on above entries, the Spring IOC container loads Ikari data source class, creates the object, injects JDBC properties to that object. In that process, JDBC connection pool will be created, having Oracle JDBC connection objects, minimum 10 connection objects, it can grow up to 100 connection objects. Minimum 10 connection objects, it can grow up to 100 connection objects. Everyone understanding my statement, guys? What is this data source object, guys? Hikari data source object. I think now you understood how I linked normal subject with Spring. I hope you enjoyed, boss. Raz, I think you are not focusing, Raz. Property tag performs what injection, boss? Property tag performs what injection? Tell me. Setter injection. And what the stupid question you are asking? What is the stupid question you are asking? Are you out of your brain? Or still in the sleepy mode? But D fellow. If you have attitude, keep that aside and listen the class. After listening entire Ramayana, you should not ask who is Sita. But D fellow. Tell me, did I ask this question or not? If I want to do setter injection in XML driven configuration, what is the tag I should use? Did I ask this question or not, boss? You don't want to listen, go and take care of your family business. Don't waste my time and others' time. This is second time I'm seeing in today's class. Property tag is taken. I can easily sense whether you are asking question by listening class, without listening class. Is taken for setter injection. Property tag is taken for setter injection. No, I got angry not because he asked a question. He asked a question without listening the class. And he asked a question by forgetting simple fundamental. Annotation driven setter injection, how you do? At the rate auto void on the top of the setter method. XML driven setter injection, how you do? Property tag. All these are fundamentals we learned, right? All these are fundamentals that we learned. Annotation driven constructor injection, what we do? At the rate auto void on the top of the constructor, one parameter constructor. Are you understanding my statement? Okay, guys. Now tell me here. Hikari data source object representing JDBC connection pool for Oracle. Based on this, guys. When I give this class to IOC container loads this class, creates the object. To that object, all these are injected. By seeing all these things, it internally creates connection pool. And data source object represents that connection pool. Come on. Are you understanding my statement? See, guys, how slowly, incrementally I launched the subject. Still, I'm doing a lot of spoon feeding, but still people are having issues. Like other faculty, take data source class, configure it as Spring Bean. I can do like that also. I can directly launch this code. But did I launch that? From last 2 days, I'm explaining what is data source, what is connection pool, what is need of layered application, what is advantage of taking layered application in Spring. I'm continuously putting my blood and flesh. Okay, guys. Array connection pool is specific to one table or one database. Nirank Jain, this shows your innocence of database knowledge. Connection object is specific to one database or one table? One database. Then why are you worried about interacting with multiple tables? Using that connection object, you can interact with any tables of that database software, na boss. Come on, my dear. Okay, I hope you understood, guys. You got the clarity? Okay, once again, Spring-based layered application already above I have explained. According to above layered application, we need to inject data source object to JDBC template class object, right? JDBC template class object to DAO. DAO class object to service class object. We get service class object in client application using ctx.getBean method and we invoke the business method. Are you understanding my statement? And we invoke the business methods on it. Everyone understanding, boss? Come on, are you feeling this? Right now I have shown configuration of only data source class as Spring Bean, boss. Like this, JDBC template should be configured, DAO should be configured, service class should be configured. Okay, client application we don't configure because within the client application itself, we create IOC container and we call ctx.getBean method. Super, guys. Tell me, guys. Okay. See, guys, to configure user-defined Java class as Spring Bean, what is the regular annotation we use? I want reply. @component. I'm happy. You are answering, I'm happy. But Spring Bean come DAO class. Component is better, repository is better. Repository is better. We have @repository annotation or not? We have @repository annotation or not? Super. See, when you want to configure Java class as Spring Bean come, we want to configure Java class, Spring Bean come service class. @component better, @service is better. @component better, @service better. Today we got a chance to introduce those things now, boss. DAO class is a user-defined Java class. I want to see that one as Spring Bean come DAO. @repository is great. I want to see Java class as service class come Spring Bean come service class. @service is good now, boss. @service is good now, guys. Come on, are you with me? @repository is @component ++. Makes Java class as Spring Bean come repository class. Super. @service, @component ++. Makes Java class as Spring Bean come service class. Spring Bean come service class. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Nirank Jain, to interact with for every request, we try to take separate connection, Ra Babu. For every interaction, we try to take separate connection. Whether you interact with 1 table or 10 tables, we try to take separate connection for every interaction. Okay. So send me, shall I ask a few questions in today's class based on today's class? Okay. Tell me, boss. Tell me, boss. Better to develop project as non-layered application or layered application? Layered application. Okay. What is the main advantage of layered application? Different logics will be kept in different layers. Okay. So that you will get clean separation of logics, code maintenance easy, parallel development is possible. Yes, na boss? Okay. What's the advantage of developing layered application in Spring, boss? In different layers, different classes will be there. If we configure these classes as what? Spring Beans, specifying dependency among them, specifying the dependency among them, specifying the dependency among them, what happens, guys? Specifying the dependency among them. Are you understanding my statement? Specifying the dependency among them, specifying the dependency among them, loading those classes, creating those class objects, assigning a dependent object to target class object, managing those objects will be taken care by IOC container. You have to just focus on writing logics only, na boss? You have to just focus on writing logics only, na? Super. I want to have a data source object pointing to JDBC connection. I want to have data source object pointing to JDBC connection. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Come on. So do I need to do everything, or I need to configure just data source class as Spring Bean injecting JDBC properties? If I can configure data source class as Spring Bean injecting JDBC properties, everything will be taken care by IOC container or not? Every aspect will be taken care by IOC container or not? Is it not interesting, Ra Babu? Super, guys. So when we meet in next class, guys, we are going to see all these concepts practical. First, I will give the sample code in the paintbrush. Then we will going to develop first one. First application looks a bit new. After that, you will enjoy programming. Definitely you will enjoy programming. Understanding? Right. What? Sachin Yadav, any latest version of is okay. Any latest version is okay, boss. Thank you, guys. Have a nice time. Tomorrow we have sessions. Tomorrow we have all sessions. Don't worry. Okay, guys. Thank you. So tomorrow I will give weekend videos. Don't worry.